Yena, last days of campaigning for candidates. Remind our viewers, what is the political landscape there for a start?
Well, Mongolia is a parliamentary democracy, and there are two political parties that really dominate the scene there. There's the MPP, the Mongolia's People's Party, which is the oldest one in the country, and the one that governed when Mongolia was a Soviet satellite. And since the country became a democracy, the MPP has come out top for all but two parliamentary elections and has been ruling with a comfortable margin there since for almost a decade. Then you have the opposition. The main opposition is the Democratic Party. They sit on the centre right, and they promote economic liberalism. Now, critics of the current ruling party warn of a democratic backsliding of late. They're pointing to curbs on freedom of the press and on civil society. And this year, actually, the campaign even took an extremely violent turn as well. Earlier this month, a regional politician and a member of the Democratic Party was killed at a rally. And there's been virtually no reporting about this incident, and that itself really does say a lot. Despite these limits, this coal-rich nation is a relatively vibrant democracy, and there just aren't so many in the region. As you say, Mongolia, a sandwich between Russia and China. A legislative election will also be important because it's the first one since a major electoral reform, which expanded the legislature from 76 to 126 seats. Now, that's a move that would give, in theory, more opportunities for smaller parties to have their voices in parliament as well.
Yeah, we're having a few difficulties with this sound, but we'll press on and hope people are managing to hear you properly. What are the biggest issues then on voters' minds, would you say?
Well, there'll be three main issues we've been speaking to. It's inequality, air pollution, and corruption. Now, access to education, poverty alleviation. This is all about inequality. When it comes to air pollution, we're talking about Ulaanbaatar, the capital, mainly because it is one of the most polluted cities in the world, and almost half of Mongolia's population lives there. The latter issue, corruption. Now, this is a big one, and there was a huge scandal back in 2022 when billions of US dollars worth of coal export revenue was found to be missing from public coffers, and this led to protests in the capital in the freezing cold weather. This Friday's vote will be the first one since that public uproar. We actually sat down with a candidate of one of the small opposition parties who helped expose that scandal to the public.
People were disgusted by the coal theft scandal. It made them feel hate. And it's very hard to think about hope or a bright future after these kinds of negative emotions. But we still have a democratic parliament, which means we have to trust the governance system, to believe we should be involved. It means we need to vote for the right candidate who can represent us.
As politicians' views reflect many of the voters we've been speaking to on the streets as well. They all mention these corruption scandals, and they link it to the other problems as well. And for them, this stolen money, if you will, this public money that could have been spent on, youth and education, unemployment, or for the fight for clean air as well. Now, will this anger translate in the polls? We'll have to see at the end of the week when the elections take place on Friday.
Yena, thanks very much. Yena Lee joining us there from Beijing. Apologies once again for the sound there. Hopefully you managed to work out what Yena was telling us about there. A lot more of her report, of course, from Mongolia to come here on France 24.